Hello, this is Teacher Marco from phuketpals, and welcome to this GED Social Studies screencast. Again, I would like to share to you another lecture about World War I. It's about the Russian Revolution. This took place during the First World War, and this will be another video in the series that I am making. So if you find this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below, and don't forget to share it. Also hit the like button. With that, you can help us help more people like you. Alright, so let's begin. The Russian Revolution in 1917. So the Russian Revolution took place in 1917 when the peasants and working class people of Russia revolted against the government of Tsar Nicholas II. They were led by Vladimir Lenin and a group of revolutionaries called the Bolsheviks. The new communist government created the country of the Soviet Union. Now, before we go to the protests and the revolution that happened, let's talk about the Russian Tsars. Now, before the revolution, Russia was ruled by a powerful monarch called the Tsar. The Tsar had total power in Russia. It was like the equivalent of the king. He commanded the army, owned much of the land, and even controlled the church. So during the period of time before the Russian Revolution, life for the working class people and the peasants were very difficult. They worked for little pay and often went without food and were exposed to dangerous working conditions. So the aristocrat class treated the peasants like slaves, giving them few rights under the law and treating them almost like animals. And this happened. Bloody Sunday. A major event leading to the Russian Revolution took place on January 22, 1905. So a large number of workers were marching to the Tsar's palace in order to present a petition for better working conditions. However, they were fired upon by soldiers and many of them were killed or injured. This day is called Bloody Sunday. Before Bloody Sunday, many peasants and working class people revered the Tsar and thought that he was on their side. They blamed their troubles on the government, not on the Tsar. However, after the shootings, the Tsar was perceived as an enemy of the working class, and the desire for revolution began to spread. Alright, they actually during Tsar Nicholas' coronation, they actually look up to him. During the day of coronation, they were giving out food and handouts to the Russian people. So they loved the Tsar, but this happened in 1905. Also, another event that contributed to the revolution was the First World War. In 1914, World War I began and Russia was at war with Germany. A huge Russian army was formed by forcing working class and peasant men to join. Although the Russian army had great numbers, soldiers were not equipped or trained to fight. Many of them were sent into battle without shoes, food, and even weapons. And you all know the conditions of the Eastern Front. So without proper food, without shoes, imagine what will happen. So over the next 3 years, nearly 2 million Russian soldiers were killed in battle, and nearly another 5 million were wounded. So if you go back to the earlier video that was posted about the overview, I mentioned that huge casualty belongs to the Russian army. The Russian people blamed the Tsar for entering the war and getting so many of their young men killed. So with that, the Bolsheviks took advantage with this hate that the people have against the Tsar and the monarch. And Another event that happened was the February Revolution of 1917. So the people of Russia first revolted in early 1917. The revolution began when a number of workers decided to strike. Many of these workers got together during the strike to discuss politics. They began to riot, and the Tsar Nicholas II ordered the army to suppress the riot. However, many of the soldiers refused to fire on Russian people, and the army began mutiny against the Tsar. After a few days of riots, the army turned against the Tsar, and the Tsar was forced to give up his throne, and the new government took over. The government was run by two political parties initially. The Petrograd Soviet, representing the workers and soldiers, and also the provisional government. It's like the traditional government without the Tsar. And then another event that happened in 1917 was the Bolshevik Revolution. Now, over the next several months, the two sides ruled Russia. One of the main factions I mentioned a while back was the Petrograd Soviet, was a group called the Bolsheviks. They were led by Vladimir Lenin, and they believed that the new Russian government should be Marxist communist government. So in October of 1917, Lenin took full control of the government and what is called the Bolshevik Revolution. So Russia was now the first communist country in the world. Take note of that. What happened after this? So after the revolution, Russia exited World War I by signing a peace treaty with Germany. And the new government took control of all industry and moved the Russian economy from rural one to an industrial one. It also seized farmland from land holders and distributed them among the peasants. Sounds good, right? Women were given equal rights to those of men, and religion was banned from many aspects of society. Now, from 1918 to 1920, Russia experienced a civil war between the Bolsheviks, or they were also known as the Red Army, by the way, and the anti-Bolsheviks, or the White Army. So the Bolsheviks won, and the new country was called the USSR, or the United Soviet Socialist Republic. Let's talk about some few interesting facts about the Russian Revolution. So for 303 years, the Russian Tsar came from the House of the Romanov. Another interesting fact, the main leaders of the Bolsheviks were Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, and Leon Trotsky. So after Lenin died in 1924, Stalin consolidated power and forced Trotsky out. And this is a sad ending for the family, the Romanovs. So Tsar Nicholas and his entire family were executed by the Bolsheviks on July 17, 1918, on the room, in this room pictured here in this slide. If you're interested about the Romanovs, you can also check out, I think Netflix has released a new series, The Last Tsar. You can check it out if you're so interested about the Russian Revolution and the Tsar. So now let's go to a GED practice test question. All right, let me read it for you. In March 1918, Russian Lenin signed a treaty with Germany, surrendering Ukraine, Finland, Poland, and other territories to Germany. In doing so, Russia ended its participation in World War I. What effect did Russia's move have on the war? Try to answer this with pure logic and a little bit of background on history. So let's take a look at the choices. A, it had no effect on the war. That's impossible, so let's eliminate that. Everything has an effect. B. It created obstacles for Germany. Okay. C. It reinforced Russia's alliance with the Allies. Mm-hmm. D. It allowed Germany to transfer troops to France. Now let's go again with elimination. We remove letter A. Now let's remove letter B. How can it create obstacles for Germany when Germany lost one enemy? All right, so let's eliminate letter B. Let's go with letter C. It reinforced Russia's alliance with allies. How would Russia reinforce their alliance with the allies when they left them in the front? Right? So the only answer that we have here, it allowed Germany to transfer troops to France because they're not worrying about the Eastern Front already. All right, so they transferred some troops to the West. Okay, so I hope I was able to help you today. And that's it for our GED Social Studies screencast. And thank you so much for listening. That's it from me, Teacher Marco. Have a great day.